Hi, I'm Katie. I'm 19 years old and I'm from Manila, Philippines. I created my YouTube channel when I was really young, when I was 13, and to be honest, I was just looking for an escape because when I was in middle school, I wasn't doing well with like friendships or family, and so I always loved watching other YouTubers though, so after watching a lot of YouTubers, decided to make a channel myself. Yeah, okay, I can talk about the first part first. So I think I've grown up on YouTube for 6 years, and so I've seen the platform evolve. I've seen, different generations of YouTubers, if you will, and I think one constant struggle I have is trying to find a balance between the YouTube world and my online persona and the me who, on my YouTube videos I'm very hyper and enthusiastic, but the remaining 23 hours of the day I'm just passed out on the bed, living a totally different life, just, head down, studying. I love the question about identity because it is something that I struggled with. I am from the Philippines. I grew up with honestly a very colonial mindset. So the Philippines was a colony of America, and ever since I was in high school I looked up to America as this dream, and it was always portrayed as that, everything was better in America, and because of that I wanted to fit into that scene. So for the longest time on my YouTube channel I didn't say that I was from the Philippines, and it's in part due to my family also just not being really supportive of my channel because back then the internet was this scary place where you didn't know what could happen. So that was one reason, but the main reason is just because I wanted to fit in to the American scene, and that's why I didn't feel comfortable sharing it. Now that my channel's reaching a lot of people, there's a lot more supportive, and I think they realize now that it's socially acceptable to talk to a camera and they don't look at me weirdly anymore, and they see that I put in a lot of my heart and soul into making these videos because nobody in my family has a media background, and everything I had to teach myself how to film, teach myself how to edit, market, and do all the YouTube things that I think they're proud of me because they've seen me actually put discipline into something for the first time in my life. I never expected I would be a college vlogger. It just happened because studying abroad was always a dream in high school, and so I knew I wanted to work really hard, and if my parents were going to send me away to the States I wanted it to be a good school. So towards senior year, I started uploading more study-related content. So I did the IB diploma program, which shout out to you if you did it because I know it's not easy. I did that, and then I did a scores reaction video, and because I did pretty well in the programs, that video actually blew up. And then after that, I did my college decision reactions and started doing all my college application videos because after, I did those two results reaction and decision reaction videos, people were like, what are your stats? What did you do? And then suddenly I got thrust into the world of college YouTubers, which by that time wasn't really a big thing yet. Now it's popping, and it's so great to see a lot of people, make content to represent their college. But back then I didn't see much of that. So it was my 18th birthday video, and I turned 18 when I was in college. So my first year, I was just 2 months into college, after having moved miles, thousands of miles away without my family. And YouTubers all typically do birthday hauls, but I wanted to do a little spin on it because at that point in my life, one really big thing that was happening was my spiritual growth. So I'd always grown up in a Catholic country, but it was only in college that I really found a Christian community and I got to discover faith for myself, not what my parents were telling me, not what other people were telling me. And it was a really transformative time in my life because I didn't have my parents to rely on, I didn't have friends from back home, I was only starting to make friends at Cornell, and it came at such a much needed time in my life. So I normally don't talk about religion in my videos at that point because that was also something I thought was taboo. I didn't see a lot of people talk about faith, so I was like, I'm pass from that right now. But it was just so life-changing at that point that I made my 18th birthday video all about why my faith has been the biggest gift I've had in my life. ever since I started growing in faith in college, I've noticed transformations in my life at home too. So as an international student, I go back home twice a year to my family, and growing up, faith didn't always have a positive connotation because my friends would talk about how their parents were like shoving down mass, which is like Catholicism's version of church, and my parents, I would question a lot of the things my parents said, honestly, about faith. And it was also because I personally didn't read the Bible. I didn't go to church, so I didn't do any of that, and I didn't have any foundation. And so it made me also question faith sometimes. But after I got to focus on it and grow on my own in college, it changed my life in that I've just never been more confident in choosing my faith. Because yeah, when I was young I was baptized, but that's not something, you know, I chose or personally experienced. But coming to faith and growing my relationship with God on my own just helped me realize what faith could look like in my life. Before COVID-19, it was such a great time, honestly. I think people were very accepting. People, actually, most of the time, I don't think people knew I was even an international student. And I think it might be because of my accent, which I have adapted. I don't speak English at home, but you know, as a way to adapt to the culture, I did develop an accent, and most of the time people just think I'm Asian American, so I didn't really have to think twice about it. But so it was positive. And after COVID-19, I have probably never felt more like an international student because my move out situation was very different. Like just trying to find all the flights, you know, to return home, having to deal with the visa issues when Trump for a hot second was gonna kick out and deport a lot of international students. That was scary. And even now, it's been challenging because I am in a time zone 12 hours ahead, and a lot of my classes are between 1 to 4 a.m. my time, and I'm not able to attend in person. And I've like the entire week before classes started, I've just been emailing my professors and asking how I can get accommodations. But at the end of the day, I am still so grateful that Cornell has accommodated international students, and I'm still able to continue my learning from here. Yeah, my plan is I will try to make the classes starting from 8 p.m. my time. Like, it was a little joke I had because I would normally never sign up for an 8 a.m. and here I am signing up for 8 a.m. classes because they're actually 8 p.m. my time. So those worked out in my favor. And it was easier to get into those classes because nobody signs up for 8 a.m.s in college. Just kidding, some people do, and kudos if you do. But aside from that, my classes, like, I can go up till midnight even though I'm not expected to show up to class if it's after 10 p.m. my time. But the only one I'm worried about is one at 1 a.m. to 2:40 a.m. And I think what'll happen is the lectures will just be recorded, so I'll watch those. But it's also a class I really wanted to take, so I'm willing to actually stay up that late for it. It personally helps to think about yourself as first a viewer. So if you were a viewer, what videos do you find yourself watching? What videos do you find yourself like always clicking for, always like, you know, talking to the mirror and pretending you had a video on? Because that's how I started. Before I made videos, is like I would talk to myself, pretend I was doing a makeup tutorial, or you know, I was doing the whole like comment and subscribe to myself in the mirror before I started. And I think when you find that space, when you find something you enjoy as a viewer, it will translate very nicely when you start producing those videos yourself. And I also think the beauty of social media nowadays is you don't need fancy equipment or pricey things. I think the beauty of this time is people want to hear stories. They want to see people who look like them and have stories like them, and that connection transcends any quality that may not be as good. So definitely, if you have an idea, go for it. Now is the time. Yeah, I think representation is such a powerful thing I never knew was a thing until the conversation started, and I started realizing that all the things I had done before, you know, with not revealing my country or adapting an American accent, was all a result of me not seeing representation and wanting to try to follow what I've been seeing. So now that I've been seeing so many, like new voices on the platform, it's also encouraging me as an international student to be proud of that and to finally make the videos I, as a viewer, want to see. And it's also why I gave my advice to, make videos you want to see, because I didn't really listen to myself all the time. I was really trying to hop on the trends and do what I thought people wanted to see. The things that you don't see are often things that people want to see as well, but don't know they need. And so that's why I'm just very open now about my experience as an international student, as someone who is from a different country and studying abroad in a different country, and just navigating a typical college experience, but also with the new layer of having cultural changes as well. My mindset has overall been very positive recently, to be honest, because I think all my negative emotions I've kind of washed away, because I took a huge social media detox and just took some time to deal with that myself. And moving forward now, I feel very optimistic. I think I'm now making videos with the genuine intention to just tell my story, and that has never really been a goal for me before. Representation played a big role in my life, because before it was like, tell the stories that people want to hear, tell the stories that people are requesting for you, but it was never tell your own story that you didn't realize needed to be heard in this space. So the response has honestly been very positive. I think the best thing is when people comment, like for me, it's like when international students comment and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so relatable. Thank you for not making me feel so alone at this time, because I thought I was the only one sleeping at 2 a.m. because of classes. And especially for the first year students right now, they feel so FOMO, I feel, from the people I've talked to, because everyone, in America is, okay, well, to them it seems like everyone in America can go to college, which is not the case, but for them, they're also just so disconnected, and that's kind of how I feel sometimes too. So knowing that other people are there is just, knowing that you're speaking to someone who understands your story, it outweighs any hate I've gotten. Yeah, I would say first thing is don't be too hard on yourself with FOMO, because you mostly see upperclassmen on your Instagram who are at your college, and you forget about all the other first year students who are in the exact same position that you, worrying about making friends when literally you all are in the same space. And I think my tip is to try to reach out to those people through Instagram, through just the rise of so many communities like Afro Chronicles that are connecting these people. And I think, I 10 out of 10 think that the bond you're gonna form during this time is gonna be stronger than a typical college students, because people bond the most when they share the biggest struggles together. And just know that all of you, when you guys get to campus, you guys are going to bond so much and make even stronger friendships, because you all endured this time together. I think one thing I started doing a lot this quarantine, which has been 6 months, is side projects. So I am a huge fan of just making a lot of random things. So at the start of quarantine, when I first came back to the Philippines, I made a website with some YouTube viewers, actually, because I wanted to make a website for COVID-19 donation funds, because I was quarantining. I felt so helpless, especially growing up in a third world country, and knowing that so many people's livelihoods are at stake just made me feel so guilty for being able to quarantine at home. And so I made that website, I made a video, and I was like, if you are a developer, if you are a product designer, then just email me and let's make some cool stuff. And people messaged me, and for the remaining 3 months we created that. And I think that in itself is a kind of community, but it's also a passion-driven community. And I think that's amazing when you work with other people towards a goal, and throughout the process you also get to know them and you get to help them and support them during this time when community is so important. And then after that, my biggest advice is literally anything you see a need for or anything you wish you had at this time, just make it and just reach out to people. Don't be afraid to do it. It can be as simple as an Instagram page or, as comprehensive as a nonprofit organization, but there are so many ways for you to do that easily online. So another thing I've been working on is this website, and it's for mentoring and tutoring IB students around the world who have been impacted by the pandemic. So people whose schools aren't able to deliver content virtually, whose schools don't have the technological infrastructure, quite frankly, and we're just trying to help students. Literally, these students are borrowing their neighbor's Wi-Fi, and I think it's also very humbling when you're able to start a community with people who share the same values as you, because you start to hear a lot of different stories, and it honestly makes you so grateful for the opportunities you have. Like before, I was like, oh, I'm so bored, you know, I've watched all these Netflix shows, and I'm like, oh my, I really hate it. Like, I can't deal with myself sometimes, because after hearing these stories, there are other people who are struggling a lot in different ways too, but they at least have this optimistic mindset and are so happy that they're able to borrow their neighbor's Wi-Fi to continue their education. And I think that has just resonated with me tenfold, because education matters to me too, and I actually have a platform to uplift these voices and help them. And that is what I would also recommend to you, is if you have a platform, and like literally you probably do if you have an Instagram account, is just pass the mic. And if you see an issue that maybe you don't resonate with, but you see other people or like other allies that need it, then help uplift them too. I think the relationship I've started adopting is if it's a cause or a topic that I think I can speak on, that I have experience with, then I will talk about it on my channel. But if it is a different issue that I feel I'm not the most experienced in, so these are topics like politics, the Black Lives Matter movement, then I just try to talk to friends, and like many people are saying, to educate yourself first and foremost, to first recognize that this exists in people, in your friends around you, and then second is to see what you can do to help. And even if it's not, you know, a direct thing, just lending your platform to give these people that audience is something really simple that you can do, and that's something I've also been trying to do with my own. But from an international student perspective, like at this point in time, it's probably when I feel the least safe to go back. And normally I'm very, like at around this time of the year, I'm very excited to go back to see my friends, to like escape. But for the first time in my life, I'm kind of like, a lot is going on right now. After the news of the Trump ban with deporting international students was released, I realized how disposable I was, and that sucks to say, but that's honestly how it is. Like, I'm relying on a piece of paper, the F1 visa, to stay in the States, and I have never felt more like an immigrant in my life. So, or just realizing that I don't really have a permanent home in America, I think was sad at first, but at the end of the day, I was like, okay, what did you expect? You know, like, you were never entitled to that. So I had to sit myself down with my expectations. And then after that, I was also like, maybe it's for the better, because it's an election year. Things are getting intense. I am an Asian amidst this pandemic, which is fueling a lot of this. So I just thought, you know, it's probably better that I am here until things settle down, or at least people have a better idea of how to handle this. I think I just want to encourage all of you guys to continue just staying positive. And I know it's hard to say, and there are days where you will just have an existential life crisis and have zero motivation, but I think one of the most helpful tips for me is just to put things into perspective. If you're watching this, you know you have access to Wi-Fi, you probably have a roof over your head, and I think that is still a huge opportunity. If you think about the other people around the world who don't have Wi-Fi, who don't have a shelter, and are literally, you know, fighting every day for their lives. And it's also not to say to invalidate your emotions, because 100% your emotions are valid and you are allowed to feel disappointed. In fact, you should let all of that out. But I think for me, just putting my privilege into perspective and knowing that things could be worse, things can be a lot better, and you can do a lot in this time where we're shifting in the online space, I think will help you stay sane throughout this. And trust me on this, because I've been stuck at home since March. I haven't left my house since. Good luck.